Identifying and building your ideal customer profile, ICP. Welcome back to From Hustle to Engine. Today, we're talking about something that can completely change the trajectory of your business. Your ideal customer profile, or what most people call your ICP. Now, before we get into frameworks and exercises, let me start with a simple truth. Most companies don't have a lead generation problem. They have a focus problem. They're trying to be everything to everyone. They're chasing every opportunity. They're taking meetings with anyone who will talk to them. And the result? Their message gets diluted. Their sales process becomes inconsistent. Their marketing becomes expensive. And growth feels harder than it should. That's where an ICP comes in. An ICP helps you decide who you're really built to serve. And just as importantly, who you're not. Let's start with a simple definition. Your ideal customer profile is the type of company that gets the most value from what you do and provides the most value back to your business. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say any company that will buy from you. I said the companies that are the best fit, the companies where you consistently win, the companies where your team does great work, the companies that stay longer, spend more, refer others, and become advocates for your brand. Those are very different things. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see founders make is confusing an ICP with a buyer persona. They're related, but they're not the same. Your ICP is the company. Your buyer persona is the person inside that company. Think of it this way. If you're in staffing, your ICP might be manufacturing companies with 100 to 500 employees in the Southeast. Your buyer persona might be the HR director, plant manager, or operations leader inside that company. First, identify the company, then identify the people. A lot of businesses try to start with personas, but if you're targeting the wrong companies, the persona work doesn't matter. So how do you actually build an ICP? I like to keep it simple. Start by looking at your best customers. Not your biggest, not your newest, your best. Ask yourself, which customers are the most profitable? Which customers stay the longest? Which customers are easiest to work with? Which customers get the best results? Which customers would we love to clone? That's where the answers usually live. Then, start looking for patterns. What industries are they in? How big are they? Where are they located? What business challenges do they have? What triggers them to buy? What do they value most? You're looking for common threads, because your best customers are often telling you exactly who your ICP is. You just haven't connected the dots yet. The second thing I recommend is talking directly to customers. This goes back to our first masterclass on understanding the customer. Ask questions like, why did you choose us? What problem were you trying to solve? What alternatives were you considering? What made you feel confident moving forward? The language they use matters. The priorities they reveal matter. The problems they describe matter, because that's the foundation of your future messaging. Now let's talk about why this is so important to your go-to-market strategy. Because your ICP influences everything. Your messaging, your content, your website, your sales outreach, your advertising, your partnerships, even your product roadmap. When you know exactly who you're targeting, everything becomes easier. Your message becomes clearer. Your sales team knows where to focus. Marketing stops trying to attract everyone, and your customer experience becomes more relevant. Without an ICP, you're guessing. With an ICP, you're designing, and that's a big difference. Here's an example. Imagine two staffing firms. One says, we help companies find great talent. The other says, we help multi-site manufacturers reduce turnover and maintain production by building reliable workforce pipelines. Which one feels more focused? Which one sounds like they understand the customer better? Which one would you trust if you were running a manufacturing operation? The second one wins because they know exactly who they're talking to. That's the power of an ICP. Now, does that mean you can never work with customers outside your ICP? Of course not. Business doesn't work that way. You'll always have exceptions. But your ICP should drive your strategy. It's where you focus your time, your resources, your marketing dollars, your outbound efforts. Because focus creates momentum, and momentum creates growth. So here's a simple exercise you can do this week. Pull together your leadership team. Make a list of your 10 best customers. Then ask, what do they have in common? What patterns do we see? What industries show up repeatedly? What company sizes show up repeatedly? What problems show up repeatedly? Once you've done that, write a simple statement. Our ideal customer is blank, who struggles with blank and values blank. Start there. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be clear. Because clarity is what creates alignment, and alignment is what creates scale. If you take one thing away from today's session, let it be this. Not every customer is your customer, and that's okay. The fastest growing companies aren't the ones trying to serve everyone. They're the ones who know exactly who they're built for. Build your ICP, focus your efforts, and you'll find that sales, marketing, and customer success all start working better together. That's how you move from hustle to an engine. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next masterclass.